Right, today we have a fun topic. We're going to talk about lighting and some different ways that we can use lighting in RenderNow, and how you can set up some different things and how you can use some different functions, as well as just kind of some best practices or different options that you can do with lighting. Some of this, depending on your background, you might already know, but possibly for other people, it might be some new stuff as well. So hopefully it helps in some way. So we're going to go over some uplighting and downlighting options. Pin spot or special or accent lights on different decor, patterns and gobos and movement and how that can work, and then stage lighting options. So we're just going to go over those few different things here, and I'll show some examples and basically just show you how you can do a number of different things to get some really nice looking lighting. And yeah, so this is just a quick kind of small scenery option here. If I zoom out, I have a whole room set up here, but I'm just going to kind of zoom in, and you can see the different options we have here. So right now it's just a flat backdrop, and we have some uplighting in the back and a little piece right here. So this is a backdrop with some stuff on stage. I'm just going to show you some examples real quick of having some different lighting options that I've already set up, and then we'll just go through and talk about kind of each one and what you can do with each one. So if I have some backlights that are up here, and they're kind of shining down on the from the back, lighting up the back of all these objects. And you can see when I turn this on, what sort of effect it will have on the people that are on, or the objects that are on stage. So if I turn that on, you can see it sort of gives a little more depth to the people that are on there, so they don't look all like they're silhouetted. So if I turn that off and then on, you can kind of see that. If I zoom out, you can see where those lights are up there. Downlights. So these downlights, as a scenery option, you can, right now I'm lighting this backdrop up from the bottom, so those are called uplights. I could also do downlights, so that I would have to fix lights up at the top of the backdrop and then point them down. So those are downlights, and if I turn those on real quick, you can see what those look like. So those are really nice too, because you can kind of do a gradient effect and have a different color on the top, which is super nice to have. So that's what that can look like. And then let's see, this is just my scenery option I have right here real quick. Some plant spotting, so some spotlights or special lights on these plants over here. So I have some lights that are kind of rigged up in the ceiling, and those are shining directly down there and on the plants there. And then a couple other things. So now nothing is lit on the stage, and so I'll just show you real quick. I have two options for stage lighting. So one option is stage wash from the top of this, so basically rigged to the ceiling, and that's going to look basically nicer because you don't have as bad of a direction. So I'll show you what that looks like right here. So that's with a stage wash, so a bunch of lights kind of in the front or downstage area, lighting up everything that's on stage. And then I also have an example of a stage wash that is in the back of the room. So this would be kind of floor supported lights that are pushed towards the back of the room. This is going to give a harsher lighting look to the stage because the direction of the lights are facing pretty much directly forward. So it creates shadows that are pretty much directly behind the objects here, you can see. And it also kind of lights everyone from the front, which tends to not look quite as nice in general. All right, so let's go ahead and look at some of these options. Let me see here. Turn this back on, I'll turn this off, and we'll look at uplighting and downlighting the scenery first. So we can add some different scenery options in here too, just to see what they look like and see what we have for options. But let's turn the downlights off first. Okay, so I just have this look, and I'm going to, right now I have this black backdrop that I added. So I went into I went into backdrop, and then these two options are drapery, and this is a cyc, which you can change the material of it. So I just added this cyc. I can do it again real quick here. If I add a cyc and then change the size of it, I just need to get the size that I want, whatever that might be. Let's say it's around there, and then I'll change it to the cyc, and then I can change the material to whatever I want. So I'll just leave it at this for now. We're not trying to spend too much time looking at the material or anything. But let's go over to scenery now. So I might put some scenery in front of there just to see what happens, basically. So it's just kind of a testing things out. So I'm just going to add something maybe with a little more dimension like this. I could kind of scroll through here and see what sort of options might look cool. But let's try this one first. Sure, I want it. Yeah, that size is okay. Okay, so I'll just leave that there for now. I'll place that there, and we'll just play with the uplighting. So I'm actually going to turn off the stage wash again, just to see what the lighting looks like there, and I'll also turn off these plant spotlights just so I can see only the lighting there. All right, and I'm going to go to my uplights, which are right here, and I'm just going to play with the color real quick so you can see we can do here. So this is kind of what some uplights can do. Let me go ahead and actually remove them real quick, and I'll show you some different options real quick. So this is basically no lighting on the backdrop, right? If I go to lighting here, I have an option to add these LED panel lights or some wider LED lights. So I'll just show you the difference between those two, what some smaller ones and larger ones would do in our system here. So if I click this button, it's going to add some lights in here. And if I, let's say, if I go to my orbit view here, this might look a little bit better. So you can see the lights right here. And if I narrow them down, you can see the difference of what they're doing. It's a little bit easier to see if I kind of watch what they're doing right here. Or if I click on them like that, you kind of see exactly where they are. But you can see the difference there. So let's say if I added like 4 or 5, spread it out a little bit. So I have 7 there now. I just adjust the intensity of it. If I don't have this scenery, if I got rid of the scenery, it's a little bit easier to see the difference of the beams of the lights. You can see now there's some beams in the lights there. It's a little bit harder to see those beams when you have scenery placed, but this might be a good time to show the difference between the beamed lights and then a longer LED light. So if I add a longer LED light there, you can see it's a sort of more uniform wash on the scenery there. So let's say we just stick with that look. I'm going to place that there. Go back to this camera view so we can kind of see what we're doing here. And then let's add that scenery back so we can see what that looks like on there. Place that there. And then from here, let's go ahead and add the downlights back to see what that does. So now basically what I did here is I added some lights up to the top, increase the room lighting a little bit so we can see this. So if I zoom in with this orbit button to this object, I basically just added some downlights to the top here. I did that by just duplicating these ones and then moving them up here and kind of turning them around. But ultimately, I just want to show what the effect of it is. So if I turn this lighting back down, we can see the difference here. So if you had some rigging or something up here to hold these lights, obviously you'd need that to happen, but I just want to show the example of it. So you can see the difference there is quite nice. And let me go back to this view again real quick, and let's just try some different scenery actually now that we have the down and up lights. So let's do this, or maybe something like this. And that looks pretty cool. So anyways, just playing with the lights there. I'm gonna maybe turn this down a little bit so it's not so bright. All right, let's just leave it there for now. And we'll look at some other lights. So that was just an example of what you can do with some uplighting and downlighting on scenery. Again, I recommend if you ever can to add downlighting because there's just a lot more options with it. Allows you to do more things that you might not have been able to do and with the look of everything. You can also uplight individual things. So in this piece of scenery right here, this pillar, I just have some uplights. Again, if I zoom in on here, I have some uplights that are lighting up that object right there. And that helps with giving that a little bit of depth and color. Okay, let's go over to the next thing, which is special lights, accent lights on decor and things like that. For this example, I just have the 2 special lights on the plants here, which I can show you again real quick. But I just wanted to show the difference between some lights. So in this example, I just have 2 moving lights that are rigged up here. And you can see if I tilt these down and up where they're shooting right there. So potentially you can do something like this to highlight an object that you might want to light. It doesn't necessarily look good in all situations, so I did do a separate one as well, because you can see this kind of washes out the backdrop. But if I go over here to plants backlight, so now I have 2 lights up here, and those are just lighting directly down on the plants. This doesn't necessarily look that much better. Again, I just have these kind of floating right now, but potentially they are going to give it a little bit better depth than, and in the end, look a little bit better because they're not washing out the backdrop. So just some options you can try to do, or you kind of do a mixture of both. Maybe you just turn this down a little bit and you kind of have both. Okay, so that's an example of that. So you could do this with anything really. You could have a lot of lights rigged up here, and then you could potentially be, let me just duplicate this one real quick and show you an example of, in this case, I'm going to hit this aim button, and I'm going to aim it directly at this table here. So this would be like pin spotting or special lighting for specific tables, which you could do if you have some people and some type of table setting that can look really nice on a bunch of tables. So you could do this with a bunch of lights on a bunch of specific tables. All right, so that's an example of some special or pin spotting or accent lights. Okay, now patterns, gobos, and movement. So this could definitely add a lot to your scene as well. So in this case, let me remove this light so we're not focusing on that. Remove that and remove that. So these lights up here are moving lights, and they're able to have gobos or patterns shooting out of them. Another cool thing you can do is add haze so that they have some movement. So for this section, you can go in and go to lighting and add some moving lights here, and they'll automatically be placed in this center area right here. But some things that you can do with them is you can tilt them all, you can pan them around, and you can add different gobos to them as well. So you can upload your own gobos, or you can use some preset gobos here. But they can definitely add some nice effect to the overall scene. So that's just some things that you can do with that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else with these lights. You can adjust the rotation of the gobo, so you could make it go quite a bit faster or stop completely by the gobo rotation option here. Soft and hard edges, as well as the overall size of the light. And then again, you can add some haze too if you want to do that. Okay, so that is that. And finally, we have some stage lighting options, which I'll show. There's one more thing with the moving lights. These ones are rigged and pointing down. You could definitely add some lights, well, really anywhere in the room. But in some cases, it might look nice as well to drag one of these lights in and face it somewhere like the ceiling here to kind of give some more light to the architecture of the room. If the room is looking kind of dark and not very interesting, you can definitely do this sort of thing to add more light to the room. So I'll just group these, and then I will tilt them a bit and just kind of play with the look there. Okay, that's just a quick example. And then again, if I added some haze, you'd see some haze out of that too. All right, so let's go to the stage wash since there's no lighting on the stage right now. So I'll just show you how I did the two options for this stage wash. So we have the stage wash in the top here. This is what I would recommend, is using it, using a stage wash that kind of has like a 45-degree angle like this. It usually gives the best amount of lighting on everything on the stage. It's more controllable, shadows are better, and it lights everything overall a little bit better. So again, with the build section here, these lights will automatically be placed right in the center here, and then you can move them around as you need. But from there, you have a bunch of options to edit these lights. So if they're pointing down like this already, you could pan the whole thing. You could fan them in or out. So I could fan them around like this to kind of get a more detailed fit there. Something like this. And then another option you could do is use this shutter option. So if I don't have the shutter on, I can just kind of make this whole size of the light larger. But for a little bit more control, I can use this shutter option. And what will happen now is I can shutter down the bottom so that it doesn't spill onto the floor there, as well as the top. So I can take as much of that light spill off of the top as I want. So maybe I want it down there just before it goes over his head there. Maybe I go back to my camera view here and click on my stage wash. And now I can see this a little better. So just some options there that you can play with. Shutters, you can adjust the intensity, of course. Another thing I almost always do is adjust the color. So it might be the case that you want to just slightly adjust the color to make it cooler or maybe make it warmer. And then another trick too is if you have a couple different groups of lights and you want to adjust the intensity of them, but you don't want to mess with the actual lighting intensity, you can just adjust the color value so that it turns it up and down. So I do that every now and then too, which helps with a little more control. Okay, cool. So that's a couple different things there. And then I'll go over the stage wash in the back real quick too. So we have turn the stage wash on the top down and then stage wash in the back. You can see it's super flat now. But I'll go back here and take a look at what we've got going on back here. So we've got two trees. I kind of extended these bars out really wide, but 2 lighting trees right here, and they are washing all of this. And I have, again, some control options that I can do here. So I think I've used the shutter again to shutter off some of this stuff. And this is where you'd want the shutter even more. So I can, if I don't have the shutter, it's going to hit some of these people in the head. So now I can just minimize that a bit. And then you could even, let's say I open these groups up and I want to shutter off the right side of the scenery right here so it doesn't spill onto the wall or something. I can just do that. And I can grab the one on the far left and shutter off that a bit too so it doesn't spill. So you can definitely fine tune that sort of stuff if you do need to put your lights in the back of the room. And you can also, if you have a bunch of lights kind of in the back of the room and doing all this, you can also pan the lights, fan the lights, and kind of fine tune them like that as well. But overall, between the two options, it's going to take a little more time to get a good look. If you're doing it from back here, you just kind of have to finesse it. To add this sort of lighting, we do have some templates as well. So you can go to lighting and then just drag in a full tree here. And then if I click on it, it's got 2 lights here, but I can just open the group and then basically like duplicate another one. If I wanted to add another one, maybe another one, maybe I want to extend this bar a little bit so that it doesn't look like it's floating. And from there, I can close all the groups, and then I could potentially just aim the whole thing at the stage, and then sort of adjust from there. Cool. So that's pretty much it. Not too crazy this time for what you can do here, but definitely just wanted to show some options for adding lights and different ways that different things that you can do with the different types of lights, but also show some sort of best practices or ways to make certain objects look good and where to sort of place things as well. So hopefully that helps. If at any point you're trying to do any of this or don't understand anything or just any random question, definitely either get in touch with us from our website. We have a live chat button during work hours that is really nice to use for kind of immediate questions. Otherwise, send us an email. You can schedule a meeting from our website as well. And that's pretty much it for today. I hope to see you next time. Thank you.